Prescriptive ideas that give you the answer at the outset are too restrictive to allow for serendipity. And in times like these, we are counting on serendipity. So let us maybe think instead with questions, an open orientation to what might be. And let's see if we can get some better outcomes than we have been getting, shouting over each other because I know better than you do. Let's see about it. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Zamboni. I am a musician and astrologer. You can check out my music and astrology readings and card readings and all of that cool stuff at zambonifunk.com. Let's get into it. Let's think about it. So this week we have the main feature of the week is we have a new moon in Pisces. This new moon in Pisces is late in Pisces, and so it is far enough away from the nodes that it is not an eclipse. We love not an eclipse now. The eclipses were very wild, and we will, in fact, feel the ramifications of that for another 6 months or year and something. So we're not done with those eclipse stories, but we at least get a break. We at least get to be in a moment where it is not all dragons all the time, and I love to see that. Now, excuse me, this new moon in Pisces is co-present with Mars and Mercury retrograde, who is stationing conjunct the North Node. So still the eclipse dynamics are there, still confusion, shadow dynamics, things are not looking particularly clear, things are not looking particularly intelligible, and also things are looking very aggressive with this Mars here as well, right? So it does still have some of those same kind of vibes here, but it is not, the sun is just going to shine the way that the sun always shines under a regular new moon, and so we do like to see that. So what's interesting here about this new moon in Pisces is that it is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is in Cancer. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. Jupiter is very good at doing the Jupiter things. Jupiter's job is buoyance, beneficence, things looking good, and growing and nurturing ourselves and making ourselves wiser and stuff like that. Jupiter in Cancer is typically good-natured, and we love to see that kind of thing, especially since Jupiter is in charge of this new moon. So Jupiter, that means that the new moon, we can think about the new moon as like a seed planting moment, right? It's a moment where you start the new thing, and it is important to remember that this is not the moment of fruit bearing, right? This is the moment where we start something new that might come to fruition a little bit later, but this is not the moment where we take the fruit and we get to enjoy what we have made. This is the moment of making. And so making something or planting a seed with Jupiter in Cancer, this is a good sort of situation. You can make something that is really fulfilling and nourishing under this kind of situation. But what do we make? This is an open question because Mercury is still retrograde as fuck. Mercury is very uncomfortable in this position. This is not a good time for Mercury. This is a great time for miscommunication. This is a great time for delays. This is a great time for overstepping boundaries where you maybe didn't realize that boundaries were there, or you were intentionally looking the other way or something like this, right? Like, we can see this on the geopolitical stage. I cannot believe that they didn't notice that Mercury was retrograde. How are you going to start a conflict with Mercury? My man, we are going to come back to this. You don't have anybody on staff talking about, come on. Anyway, we at our scale can learn from this kind of thing by stepping quietly, maybe not over, okay. We have to understand that we don't know. Prescriptive ideas which have the answer already at the outset are not going to work in this moment. What we need is to ask better questions. We need to come to an understanding of what's going on because we don't currently know. We need to first start by understanding that we don't know what's going on here. So Mercury retrograde is really good, especially in Pisces. It's really good for metaphor, for symbolism, for patterns. Pattern recognition is really good under Mercury in Pisces. Explaining what it is difficult to do, but recognizing it, feeling it, catching the vibes, really good skies for that right now. So let's think into ways that we can come to, like, one time I was giving a talk and I was talking about how we as a culture are generally pretty lost and don't understand what's going on, and we need to lean into questions and stuff like that. And the question came up from the audience. It was like, okay, so if we don't ever know anything, then how do we come to know anything? And I fumbled that day. I wasn't expecting that question and didn't do a good job answering it. But what I have come to understand is, since then, since I've had a lot of nights to sleep on that, is that aphorisms are a great way to understand the world at large, because what aphorisms show you is patterns or shapes of understanding things. I've been talking about shapes for many years now. If you want to hear my longer diatribes on the importance of shape and how shape is the foundation of everything, you can check out Which Way to Wisdom. It's a course that is free on YouTube. You can check it out if you just type that into the search bar and Zamboni Funk, you'll find it immediately. Whole playlist of that stuff. But the shape of the thing determines the flow. So you can think about like the way that a pitcher is shaped, and then if you pour water out of the pitcher, then the way that the water flows is a consequence of the shape of the pitcher itself, right? And so the world is constituted this way, and aphorisms will help you to understand which story is taking place, what shape is involved in this moment. And so if we can come to an understanding of, if we can catch a vibes about what shape is happening right now, then that can help us to understand how things might flow moving forward, and how we can orient ourselves in order to shape a kind of flow that we would prefer. So currently, and that is going to mean we're going to have to change what we're doing, because we're shaped in a certain way that is giving us this kind of flow. If we want a different kind of flow, we're going to have to change our relationship to it. We're going to have to change our relationship to one another. We're going to have to change our shape, right? Now, the good news here is that this week, at the same time as this new moon, we have Venus in Aries making a square to Jupiter in Cancer. Now, Venus in Aries is not particularly comfortable. This is not our favorite Venus necessarily. It's very... Aries cares a lot about the short term, do a lot of short term thinking in Aries. Not really, it's shooting off the hip, Aries is, not thinking a lot of beforehand, that kind of thing. So this Venus is very excited and excitable, right? And it's hanging out with Saturn. And so it's like feeling very, there's a lot of pressure on this Venus. Now, Venus's job is to put things together, to cooperate, to work together, to be delicious and harmonious in some kind of way. Now, this Venus making a square to Jupiter, a square is typically going to be a little bit of tension, but these two planets are both the benefics. These are the ones that want to bring things that are beautiful and work and that are that feel good in some kind of way, right? And Jupiter, being good-natured in Cancer, is looking to help. And so what we can see here is that Venus is in the overcoming position. Venus is on top here. And what's interesting about that is that, so I've been thinking about this as like asking for help, which is going to start from this place of like, I don't know what's going on here, or I can't do it by myself. Can somebody else help? But then we tend to think about Jupiter as like a teacher or some kind of authority figure in that kind of way. But really, Jupiter is in the under position in this, right? So what we're doing here is we're looking for help in a more grassroots position. We're looking for help not from authority figures or from someone who has real like institutional power, but rather looking in the place that is underneath. Like, is there something springing up from the ground that could be helpful, that could help to put us together? And so looking for help in these places, in the places where you don't necessarily expect to find it, the least of these, the meek shall inherit the earth. This is the kind of vibes we're looking at with this kind of thing, right? Like, is there a way for us to break out of this same old shouting over each other because I have the answers thing and look instead for help in the places where it might be? I don't know, let's try.